couple minutes.
Everything did just kind of happen on deadline day.
And like after, it happened like after deadline day.
And, yeah,
right.
for
It
what's his
wasn't
name?
stuff wasn't made official.
Man,
Canadian
the
dude.
fourth Fast and Furious was just called Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. What the fuck?
It was a reset to a serious action series.
That's basically the same as the first title.
What was the first title?
The
actually?
Fast and the Furious.
There was one.
Fast and Furious has an ampersand instead of spelling out and.
And no does.
Yeah.
There was one movie franchise I was reading about last night that I can't remember, but it was like the different versions of their movies were just and then it as a singular, and then it like, the movie, like,
Just for SEO.
right.
I do like the way it progresses. It's like Fast and Furious, presumably the reboot, right? But then Fast 5, you're like, okay, fine. But then
Which
Fast
is-
and Furious 6.
Fast 5 is actually chronologically fourth in the series.
Oh, okay, okay. Like in the universe, okay. Then Furious 7, okay. The Fate of the Furious, which sounds like a spin-off if you ask me.
But is that the one with F8?
No, then there's F9.
No, but I think Fate was like stylized.
Oh, I'm just looking. Oh, okay.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
then Fast,
I'm a hardcore.
Fast X. And now there's an untitled Fast X sequel.
Which has not come out yet, yes.
Right.
There's rumors they're going to be replacing, I guess,
There's going to be
The
11
Rock
of these? Oh my god.
with Jason Momoa, because they were just like, we needed another Samoan guy.
Like replaced with a new character? Or
Yeah.
okay.
There's like notable disputes between what's his name, Vin Diesel and The Rock.
Oh no.
Well, I have no choice but to back up Hunter College alum Vin Diesel in this scenario, even with The Rock's known RB&Y leanings now.
Is John Cena involved at all? Because if so, I'll back him and the Republic of China.
He might be. He might be
is
the
in one of them.
Yeah,
China.
the State Department mediator on all this. Chinese State Department.
He was in
mediator.
it post Rock, so he might be with the Vin Diesel setup.
It's Alex!
Well, I'm right again, because it's episode 221 of View from 202. A more normal one, maybe. I feel like less has happened this week. But just after one simple little match, 1 week, we're convening on a normal night of the week, middle of the week. None of this Thursday business. We're just doing one podcast in 1 week, as is intended. It's the four of us: Brit, Cork, Sam, and Peaches. How's it going? Is it nice to be back from the dismal swamplands down south?
It was alright. I mean, I think we all realize that DC is like kind of an alright city, just populated with demon spawn.
Well, separated from the cultural element. I'll put it a little more nicely. But yeah, no, I just realized when I was getting out of the shower coming over here that I have some peeling. It was very sunny and hot in that very DC kind of way.
I was going to mention that
the underrated DC kind of way. It's like every time I've ever been there, it's like hottest, like least comfortable heat I've ever been in.
Yeah, I was going to mention on the trip that your scalp was looking a little red, but
Yeah.
I wish I'd warned you sooner.
I had a hat on like half the time, so I didn't even it snuck up on me.
That's true.
But
The Berbatov jersey you brought did not protect you from the elements.
What's he up to? Is Waza gonna bring him down?
I don't know, but Waza seemed to be bringing out the, Gen X to millennial dudes in United Kit crowd all over the National Mall. Was doing a lot of just kind of, hey, how's it going? Yep, that's the shirt I'm wearing. Yep, that's, oh, you got one too. Like that, that routine, having a good. It was like Peaches with Luna.
Yeah,
Except,
exactly.
And
Lake Placid.
My Luna is a Berbatov jersey from like 2010.
We were gonna steal it from the Airbnb we were staying at and take it to the back door and try to get Wayne Rooney to sign his Berbatov jersey.
Oh, still Cork's. I thought you were.
Yeah.
I thought maybe the Airbnb came.
If I had packed it in my bag to go to the stadium, I would have had Ravel Morrison sign it. But,
I actually thought you were going to say you were going to steal it from the Smithsonian. You know, like
well,
the Declaration of
I
Independence.
offered it to the Smithsonian, but they were like,
Allegedly.
no, this is clearly too important.
We already have
to you
5
and
of
your
them. People won't stop bequeathing them to us, and we can't legally refuse them.
It is just simply too historical. We must archive it.
Yeah, they really need
They're
to
a huge
update the
hit.
state
It's,
law.
it's like, Steve Martin had his song after the King Tut song was the Berbatov jersey song. It was just it was touring all over. It was
Wow, what a pull.
Yeah, it was a national craze for a bit, but I missed the boat. So
Well, what is the stadium? Well, I guess. Wait, Pete. So Sam, you've been to the stadium. Have you been to the stadium? Either of you two?
I'd
was
been
my
there.
first time.
I'd been there like right after it opened when it looked pretty
Incomplete.
shitty. Yeah.
It's funny you say that.
When
'cause
it looked like a suburban Dallas high school football stadium,
those are pretty nice.
one of the nice palatial ones,
Okay.
but still not.
Well, I was gonna say, like,
professional
it's
level
funny
play.
that you say that because it was my first time going. I had the exact same thoughts seeing it, even as it was nicer, I suppose. It did, like, there's I feel like a feeling of incompleteness just due to the fact that it's so structural, whatever you see, and
The roof doesn't cover the whole thing.
But
yeah,
it doesn't have that like patina on the concrete though that gives it that like nice, like
actually, like, Pat and Dad was
modernist
mentioning this when we
feel,
were watching
right?
by, but like that's the best part of the stadium is that it does have those exposed concrete on the outside for the sections and the seating, but it's also just like
Has it gotten a little weathered in?
I don't know about that. It's just not
mean,
that well built.
But they
with.
still have. I mean, like we were commenting, like it was kind of. I mean, I think a lot of people had the punchline, or especially on the TV shot. It's those like field level suites that were just like gray boxes.
Yeah.
At the beginning, they put some like cladding on that, which makes it look better.
Mm.
And then I was actually this was not my first time at the stadium, but it was my first time there working press. And from the box there, you do get, because I mean the away section that I've been in before, they put you way up. It's fucking steep as hell.
My
Yeah.
quads are
It's
still
like-
recovering.
Right, it's steep as hell, and they put you way up in the corner, like away from everything, and you don't feel like necessarily immersed in the atmosphere or whatever.
A good fan
And-
activation for them would be foam roller night at Audi Field.
with Lockheed Martin on the, but no, like the away section of the year, you don't feel necessarily like part of the crowd as much, whereas in the press box, which is just a little bit underneath the away section, but kind of in the middle of things, you do get a good impression because it was a pretty decently attended game. I think people are excited about Rooney and stuff like that, and they're like, I guess you call them cops on both ends that they kind of have. Like, they're big and steep, but they're like pretty impressive, like when they're full.
Like KOP.
And, like,
Okay.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. They feel like you're like in a bigger stadium than it actually is. It feels like you're kind of down in a pit or whatever. So like, yeah, I mean, when on nights where they have big games, if they have big games in the future, and actually have big crowds and stuff like that, could be a pretty imposing venue now that especially now that they've gussied it up a little bit.
It was very
kind
steep.
of on the around the edges.
But I will say, I'm extremely angry about having gone to this venue. And as soon as you enter the gate, there are these wood-fired ovens
Oh God.
then they're just cooking like margarita pizzas, and we all got one, and they were really good.
They're like, I mean, you're selling it short. I mean, they're like these DC
They're like
United
imported.
brick.
Yeah, they're imported like pizza ovens from Naples with like a DC United made with masonry, like the crest onto the pizza oven, and they're just gorgeous pizzas coming out of this oven just into the hands of people. No one's really waiting that long. People are just paying on the
I not so that we're not copying DC. I want to say that this can't be the only club in the league that does that right now. So RBNY, should you decide to bless us with, our own custom-made Neapolitan pizza ovens, then
I'm sure we can find Italians to man the oven.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some strides. I like the idea of the bodega thing that's in the concourse now. Let's up the ante even further. Let's get the pizza ovens.
Cancel this Delaware
That's
North
the new.
contract.
That's the new. Well, yeah, but that's the new kind of having a safe standing section is having your own, club branded pizza ovens.
They still have the pupusas in the stadium too, like from the same people who did them at RFK. Apparently.
Yeah, they're like in the upper levels too.
Yeah. And they jack the prices, but good for them.
Wow. Well, I got to get my Goo City hot dog with extra goo on it, But
speaking of Goose City, I mean, like, this was just a repeated theme of us just being around the area throughout the weekend, but just, that stadium's like 4 years old now. And the Nationals Stadium right by it, the baseball stadium, is older than that. And that neighborhood is like, it's empty, but not.
Yeah, there's no coffee shops.
There's no
but
commercial
there are a lot of
establishments.
luxury
that's actually
condos.
the one thing I wanted to ask about. Were there any axe throwing warehouses?
So
Not even,
it's funny
like-
because we stayed 3 blocks away from the
Not
stadium.
even. We stayed literally a block away, just one construction site away from the
But in
stadium.
order for us
in
to
the heart of that, condo district,
get coffee or the nearest pharmacy, we would have to walk 1.2 miles to get anything. And
Jesus.
But none of the apartment buildings had ground level storefronts.
yeah,
or
and they're
anything.
these wood frame residential buildings with, I don't know, the floor we were staying on had 50 units on the floor itself. So all of these people just have no clear access to stuff
Well,
like that.
they're just getting in there. They're just getting in their cars,
in their Instacarts and their
They're just ordering.
DoorDashes.
Yeah, they're having somebody bring them.
I realize it's a city of DoorDash and Instacart when I realized that. But we were also really next to a nice protected bike lane that we got electric scooters to get to the Capitol, but we had to pay $15 each to do so for.
Yeah, it was one of those cities with the scooters just lying around like it's a fucking playground. But yeah.
Jeez. Well, this kind of makes me worry for when all those condos get finished in Harrison, to be honest. Because
they already have more on ground
infrastructure,
level than Buzzards
Okay,
Point,
that really
DC.
is really hammering home how grim it is there. Because I feel like there's one of those actually got put up in the last year, and they've got a restaurant in it.
Right.
But it looks kind of annoyingly fancy. I'm okay, this
Right.
isn't. But if they don't even have that, that's wild.
No, the ground floor did have a kitchen Buzzard Point coming spring 2023 thing.
They had Space Invaders and a pool table in the lobby, but
That's true.
but no food.
And the pool table was missing one of the balls, and they put the cue ball into the thing, the triangle thing.
It was a nice little bit of
Yeah,
kind of
it was
cultural
clearly
tourism.
everything in that lobby
cultural
was there for
tourism,
show, because-
cultural tourism for the most culturally dead place on Earth.
Oh, yeah, did you guys join the Illuminati or the Cabal? How did that go?
No, we went to the Natural History Museum.
Which was,
did you
pretty
go?
cool.
I was
But you
approached
also
by a
went
few
to
different recruiters.
you went
Exactly
to Comet
true.
Ping Pong though, right?
This was after the game though. So.
That's when you joined the Cabal, right?
right. Well, I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you
it
actually
was
did.
it was noticeable, not because I was trying to get a joke hat or anything, that they don't have CIA hats in all the stalls and everything where they're selling they have FBI,
yeah.
and all the branches of the military and stuff like that, but no CIA.
I was on the lookout for a CIA hat too, but they just didn't have any. They had a lot of Let's Go Brandon hats, but unfortunately they couldn't grab one.
They were just flying off the shelves so quick.
Exactly.
But it's just a matter of time until the next, 17-year-old superstar Brazilian forward is Brandon. Brandon Nilsson.
Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Jobiden as one word.
Whoa, hold the phone, everyone. The MLS All-Stars are up 1-0 on the Liga MX
Get 'em.
All-Stars. Carlos Vela
Yes.
I like how on FOTMob
Yes.
it lists MLS All-Stars as, like a club.
Yeah.
So in like the form guide or the insights on FOTMob, it says MLS have lost their last 4 matches. Haven't kept a clean sheet in 9 matches. Haven't won at home in their last 4 matches.
All the games that this club plays seems to be very high scoring.
Yeah.
They must have some very strange tactics.
Last win on the team form is against Spurs. Typical. Well, hopefully Furch puts in a hat trick promptly, but
Yeah.
we're not getting any
Yeah.
more details of the lineups. But, well, what happened in this game against DC United? Tell me all about it.
The real All-Star game.
Yeah, the real final.
It would be faster to just move on to the next game, I think.
Well, there are no other games this week.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to tell you. Anything? Do you have any thoughts about the lineup that came out? Our good friend Drew Yearwood started again.
Well, it feels like this was the lineup for maybe his not strongest in belief, I guess.
By that
It
you
would-
mean Struber.
Yeah.
It was a little hard to tell because, yes, obviously coming off of, the rough midweek result, not a full week's rest, but enough rest, especially with no midweek games coming after, that you would think what he puts out in this game is the first choice team, and little mixed messaging as we've come to expect on what that team looks like. Obviously rested Luquinhas because Luquinhas so far has not seemed to be in any type of doghouse. He's seemed to start every game he's been healthy for, which Struber said was that he's just kind of fried and needs a little bit of rest because he has been playing a lot and getting hit a lot. And then the third rail, as it were, of Glimala versus Barlow, with Barlow starting out this game.
Well, I was also going to say, I'd like to play Struber's advocate this week.
Okay.
And, Frankie Amaya wasn't even on the bench, and, he has a lot of miles this season,
Well,
so.
he was on the bench.
Was he? I thought he wasn't on the bench.
I'm pretty sure he was.
Well,
Not only was he on the bench, he
And
played
he
for
got thrown
7
into,
minutes.
like, the last
Okay, so
few.
that shows how in tune I was by the end of that game. But
I think your point still stands, though.
right, yeah, but Frankie Amaya's had a lot of minutes on his legs or miles on his legs this season, so I don't think he's frozen out necessarily, especially if he played.
How many games has it been since he started?
I don't know, what,
2 or 3?
Yeah.
Right? Hey, but he started again. Hey, did he start at the Open Cup game? Let's see. We have the...
I think he did. But
Yeah,
but
he
yeah.
started against Orlando.
Yeah. So
But yeah, and then the one lineup call that I kind of commented on in the first half and then asked Struber a little bit about after the game was Andres Reyes continued to be not exactly thrown right into the lineup. He's been fit for about a month now, or in full training and fit for game action for about a month now, and Dylan Nealis was brought in as the third center back with Cameron Harper out on the right. And I speculated in the first half that with Tom Edwards gone, maybe not, but not with the team currently, Struber's game is so, Struber's approach attacking wise and moving the ball upfield wise is so reliant on having kind of those wide long balls, those diagonal long balls that Edwards sends a lot of, and then obviously Tolkien on the other side. But without Edwards, you needed somebody, because Harper doesn't, Harper has his qualities, but pinging the ball is not necessarily one of them. I don't think anybody would say, at least not yet. And then
he's a dribbler.
yeah, exactly. And Dylan Nealis being maybe a little better in that department, a little more of a conventional kind of ball striker. He comes in and plays that right center back role and was kind of firing up the long balls from that side. So I had to speculate that, if Reyes is not being chosen for this game, a month after he's been fit and, primed for minutes, he didn't if I'm not mistaken, he didn't start in the Colorado game either midweek. Yeah, it has to be some kind of tactical decision, and that's the best rationale
That's so weird.
I could come up with. But yeah, I don't know. I generally, Struber said after the game that he continues to have Reyes on a load plan after a long injury layoff, which, fine, but continues to be, kind of a thing where, he seems to have a much longer incubation period for letting players, touch competitive minutes, and B, just seems to be, because Reyes came into the game, he got subbed into the game eventually, him being, continuing to be somewhat flip about just letting a center back group gel and, stay in place and keep him in course even over 90 minutes, let alone week to week. So
another case where center backs cannot play 90 minutes at a time.
Well, Reyes started against Colorado and got taken out at the 70th minute.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
And Colorado scored 3 goals after the 70th minute. Just two different pieces of information.
Completely unrelated, because it's all because Red Bull won't pay for,
Right.
better players like, I don't know.
Like Andres Reyes.
Like Maxi or Rudy or something.
Like
Yeah, exactly.
Silver,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The idea, I mean, we've talked about it on a couple episodes recently now, but I mean, just the idea that, a center back if a center back is fit to go 70, he's fit to go 90. If a center back is fit to go 45 or whatever, he's fit to go 90. I don't, it's strange with any player, but especially at center back, it's just odd, and just again, just seems to be maybe overthinking things.
Yeah.
Especially when we play 3 at the back.
One thing I forgot to say last episode when we were talking about this is that all this load management stuff reminds me of people like goofing on baseball load management when it gets really intense, or like sometimes
Like pitch counts and stuff.
Yeah, it's like, well, okay, did the other team hit a grand slam, or do we strike out entirely and lose this playoff game? Yes, but we worked the counts really deep and we tired out their pitchers, so they're going to be more tired for next game. So that's sort of like a win. It's like, well, no, you lost the game. Like at a certain point, you have to win the game. That's the main point. Where I worry maybe we're studying too much from that line of thinking at
Is that
times.
the Dodgers who pulled a pitcher on a perfect game?
Yeah, it was. But
which, I mean, and Struber kind of, when I brought it up to him after the game, he sort of defended the approach. I mean, in pretty fair way. I mean, just said, I talk with my medical team. We have a responsibility to keep players fit. And it's like, the team has been fairly good about avoiding injuries this year as opposed to how things looked last year. And, you have to respect whatever practices are in place on that front if they seem to be working as well as they are. But yeah, I mean, you have to balance that a little bit with, I don't know, pretty common football sense. I don't think it's any, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it's any sort of, new analytical development that you should switch around your center backs all the time and sub center backs more.
I think the one thing, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more after we run through the game with some new personnel, is that, looking at the rest of the summer and into the fall, I think that we're not, my hope is that we have a set center back like tandem or crew, and we have set fullback / wing backs, and we don't see as much of this kind of like ambiguity in where people play, especially someone like Dylan Nealis, who I think is just stuck in so many different spots that it's so difficult to really get a sense of like what his best skill set is. And even for him as a player, it makes things much harder for all the kind of criticisms that we've, fans have even thrown at him.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of in theme with what this whole game was for the team, in Struber's words. But also kind of a microcosm of the whole season where, when you have a new back line every single game for whatever reason, which, some of it has been injury and rotation and international call-ups and all that, but some of it has been Struber's choice. And, when you have that happening, it blunts the offense, or it blunts the attack when you have to sort of keep the team so sort of rigid and mechanical when you're not getting the benefits of your back line being gelled and in a groove and being able to defend even when overextended and just prepared for a lot of different situations that they've gelled in over the season. When you don't have that, you require the rest of your team to be as rigid as they have been in attack and just generally in all phases of play. Where, yeah, I mean, just, you know, the lack of defensive continuity becomes, you know, sort of the genesis of, I think, a lot of the team's issues this year. So,
Struber's Choice. That was such a sad movie. You just wasted it. That's an interesting tactical question. The idea that Nealis was just sort of preferred for being able to play those long diagonal balls is well, I hope it's not true personally, because if you have Huntress Reyes fit and you had him playing next to Sean Nealis and now you have Aaron Long fit there too, you know, not to go all Gerard Lampard in the England national side problem, but like I feel like you got to get Reyes on the field. It doesn't.
And
Just go back.
And if you want Nealis out there, you can just put him out there instead of Harper. I mean, at right wing back.
If you just throw in the same defense players who led to like 13 games where we had like allowed 1 goal or less last season, like if we're just going to like, you know, if the offense is going to be what the offense is, and we're going to have to rely on these like wonder goal or just like something out of nothing plays by Morgan and Luquinhas, like let's at least have a back line that will guarantee 1 goal or less every game.
That's true, because it's not like we're lighting the world on fire.
Well, I mean, it's funny you say that because Struber also explicitly said after the game that, yeah, we're kind of back in that mode where we're going to have to go back into that mode where we were last year, where we have to, you know, just make sure we don't give up a goal first, and then if we get, and then if we get a goal, we kind of grind it out, because it's apparently if the team tries to do anything differently, they give up 5 goals in the second half now. So
he's really good at just like, you know, I don't know, making me feel like it's somehow my fault. Like, you fucking moron. Like, oh, is this like, look what you made me do. Like now we're never gonna score a goal again because you got all mouthy. Like, sorry, Gerhard. Fuck. Like, didn't mean to be rude. Jesus.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's all sort of part of what I was, you know, just saying about, you know, the defensive side of the ball, the defensive phase of play needing to be locked down now becoming the absolute priority, and as opposed to, you know, kind of the preference that it's been over the course of the season with having changed personnel so much. So we shall see how that manifests in the weeks to come.
And also for the splitting time thing, even when it's not necessarily load management, he's doing it like with the forwards. You know, Barlow came out in the 55th, 56th minute again, which seems to be the go-to time for the forwards to come out.
Which is weird, because you'd think a forward would have more than 10 minutes to get tired from running. Like, right. You know, the starting forward.
Or like maybe that's really what makes me think that part of it is he thinks he's playing chess, where he's like, okay, the other manager might make halftime subs, so I'll wait and make sure he doesn't pull a quick one on me, but then also do something before the 60-minute mark to get my move in ahead a little bit before his, and I'll have to force him to adjust. And meanwhile, Waz is out there just being like, fucking score, and gets a point anyway.
Yeah, I mean, putting on my 60s era flat cap or whatever, like I'm in the stands at Molyneux or something. There used to be no subs at all. The game used to have no subs at all. There used to only be like 1. Then 3 was pushing it. And it's like, I don't know, I mean, I feel like it was somewhat recently kind of a joke thing, like a common joke thing that, you know, there was the term super sub, but everybody knew that it was kind of like a dumb media cliche that just like subs are just guys who you throw out there on a lark. They're there for like an injury or just to have, you know, 1 or 2 extra, you know, fresh guys running at the end of the game. The idea that, I mean, especially since it's gone to 5 in this wonderful last 3 years on Earth, that we now have 5 subs. I guess if you're just, that utilitarian about it, yeah, you turn it into part of your toolkit or whatever. But man, like,
it is so important.
It's both just completely against my taste and, not very conducive to keeping the team in shape, it seems, the last few weeks.
We must at all costs prevent Gerhard Struber from ever going to a hockey game.
Oh, God.
That he's going to start writing daily letters to Arsene Wenger, asking him to change it to whole line
hockey game or a college soccer game. Or somebody takes him to a Rutgers game.
Oh, my God. He's going to fucking freak out.
Yeah.
Maybe we should
What is this league?
We should just show him American football, and maybe he'll just get obsessed and leave the sport.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah, he'll finally actually turn a page and leave his family behind and be like, actually, I love America. He'll become one of the weird Americans who's like, everything makes more sense here than Europe. And you're like, what are you talking about? Everything just works here. It's like, all right, if you say so. But listeners will know I don't particularly like Barlow over Klimala in terms of a starter, and I rate Klimala much higher. But I will say, just even on Barlow's behalf, it makes no fucking sense for him to play only 55 minutes. Like, I would prefer him to at least play like 75 minutes and get a look or anything. I just don't.
I guess it's even at the very top of the formation, that's Struber's idea of a defensive gambit.
Right.
And he said after the game, I mean, the number one priority for this game was getting a stabilizing result, which in a vacuum, fair enough. Like, yes, that is what you need to do after, a bunch of games where you've given up a ton of goals and it's cost you trophies and all that kind of stuff. Yes. And he said too, I mean, the team's brains are kind of scrambled after those games, which, sure enough, we're all looking for the person who did this. But when it extends all the way, I mean, this wasn't just like kind of putting a normal 11 out there and having them kind of buckled down. This was, every possible defensive gambit all the way to putting on your, supposed like your defensive striker, as Barlow essentially is, the way Struber calls it. Defensive gambit in every way except having your stud, Colombian,
6'2", 6'3", massive mountain of a man, CB.
But other than that, just every defensive slider pushed to the brim. So
based on how the game was going, did it make any sort of sense that Barlow was getting like tired, or maybe should have been subbed out based on what he was required to do, or could he have just kept going? Like, because I'm just trying to think of the last time or any time that this sort of striker platoon thing worked. And I feel like maybe it worked last year. Like, I feel like there was a half where like Klimala and Flavio switched, but everything was so different last year.
They connected a couple times, yeah.
This year, I can't remember being satisfied with these striker platoons once. It's so frustrating to see them only get like 30 to 45 minutes. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, the team doesn't. I mean, after this transfer deadline, the team literally doesn't have the bodies anymore to play two strikers on a regular basis. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was, just was going through the numbers recently, and Klimala did 90 in that game against LAFC in LA. But other than that, yeah, it looks like it's just out of the question for a striker to go 90. And yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess it's sort of in a theme with Struber in general that just everything is overmanaged, if anything else. I mean, yes, of course, you're lessening risk of injury by, constantly rotating your players and never letting them play 90 and stuff like that. But also, the point of the game isn't to prevent injury. The point of the game isn't to, press the most in certain areas. The point of the game isn't to, have,
the best potassium levels on
the best potassium levels, the best, flexibility between multiple formations. I mean, the point is to have your best players out there in the best positions and win. And it just seems like that's so far down the priority list compared to a bunch of other concerns.
It is also weird that guys like Caceres, Tolkien, Amaya until recently were able to go 90. And those are some of the more physically demanding positions on the field, too, and just the more likely places to get two-footed or something, and just have a contact injury. So, and obviously I'm sure he would love to sub out 10 guys if he could. And he has to pick somebody who's not going to get subbed out. But the fact that it's never them also makes me, it gives the game up a little bit that some part
the fact that Long is one of the more substituted guys.
Yeah.
Long gets subbed like every other game, which, let alone your center back, your freaking captain. I mean, it's just such a
if Gerrard
strange
wants to
gesture.
do this, he should start beating teams 3-0 more often. That way he can take off the big guys and get him a big ovation first. Like, that's the way you do that. I don't know.
He's not even like removing a center back when he takes Long off either these days. It's like he's not even adding another attacker or anything because we're chasing a game. It's like, oh, we're just doing this for the sake of fulfilling the spreadsheet for workload.
With all these gripes said, I will say, just based on the highlights at least, it looks like we got close to actually fastening a couple decent looks, though. And being
I would
vertical.
say over the course of it, we were the better team for sure. We were just kind of watching some of it before we recorded, and I was saying, there were definitely, I think, more than DC. We had more of those kind of half chance moments where there's some good build up and a ball gets kind of sent in. And it doesn't quite turn into a shot, but it's still just like a nice little look. And there are more of those. I think some of the flow charts that are out there are kind of showing that, especially in the first half. We had the better of that balance. But then the second half was just a slog. Just nothing happening. Both teams tired. It was humid and hot.
Yeah, it was a hot day. We got ice cream after the game.
And not Hollywood entertainment in the last part of it. Both teams sort of broke down and couldn't really connect a lot of passes and weren't really getting a lot of bodies forward when they could. And it was a pretty fair 0-0 draw, but like I said, if you had to pick somebody who had the better of play, I think most neutrals would say RBNY, but
it's not a moral battle,
right? But yeah, exactly. Maybe in a situation where the team is in a better headspace and isn't coming off of a few brutal results, they maybe play with a little more swagger and can win that one or 2-0. But then again, DC has kind of given us problems in that fixture in the last couple leagues, league ties. Obviously whooped them in Open Cup, but that was right after they had fired their manager and things were kind of a mess. So yeah, maybe in a different situation where the team is cruising a little more, a game and a performance like that turns into 1-0, 2-0 win. But tonight, or sorry, Saturday night, the objective was just kind of get out of there without unraveling like happened in the previous couple games.
I guess that is a silver lining.
Well, I will say that I believe it or not, I took offense to kind of the tone Struber took after the game about the result. He also walked over to the supporters, like clapping, hands in the air, like pumping fists, as though it was kind of like the same energy that Jesse had after the 7-0 game at Yankee Stadium. And then he was like blowing kisses too into the supporter section, which felt kind of like weird, especially because there were a lot of like vocal. Maybe not like totally justified like desires for the players to come thank the fans for coming out, but I think they went out of their way to come to the away section this time. But I feel like Struber really hammed it up in a like not delicate way.
You have to understand, in Austria, a 0-0 draw is the second happiest day of a man's life after his
Rumspringa.
Thank you. Yeah.
No.
So it was a big day.
Well, without getting into the gory deets, it was a bit of a I don't know, kind of a on edge sort of week for him. Which probably influenced his decision to sort of keep it tight and view a game or a result like Saturday night, getting a scoreless draw on the road as a little bit more of a victory, which I think is fair. It's fair given the context of him getting a string of bad results weeks previous, but at the same time, I think silver lining, like Brit said, I guess it is a positive week and a positive weekend result in that the team was able to get itself straightened out for the last couple months of the season, where long said after the game that they've sort of set a baseline goal of getting a home playoff game at this point, with getting the Shield obviously pretty out of reach, and then now qualifying for Champions League through the conference kind of slipping away too. So keeping themselves straight for the playoffs seems like sort of the objective for this last couple months. So we'll see how that holds as the sort of bar to hold the team to, whether it turns out to be tenable or not.
Well, I'm glad that they have made or had some sort of conversation along goals and having tangible things they're going for. I think Strub is just lucky Eric Sorga doesn't play for DC United anymore. But were there any moments where DC had any second balls off of set pieces that fell about 20 yards out from goal? Did we seem to improve or still struggle on anything like that?
No, but there was actually a play that we had like that I find kind of interesting and dovetails with a little bit of what we've been talking about so far. On our side, coming off a set piece, I can't remember whether it was a corner or just a dead ball free kick, where we had most of our bodies forward, and so did DC, had all their guys back in their box, and the ball got cleared out, and Drew Yearwood was one of the kind of guys hanging back to defend, one or two guys, while everybody else was challenging in the box, and he picked up that clearance. And then while everybody else, in that situation we were talking about where we've given up so many goals this year, when both teams are sort of reorganizing and getting their lines back together and their structure back together after, being in the box for a set piece, Patrick Klimala, who had just come on as a sub and has his, new bleached blonde look that, may or may not be meant to make himself easier to see on his runs, but he makes this cut across the box kind of diagonally in behind all of the reshuffling that's happening at the top of the box, and like he does from time to time, it's just a nice smart little sharp run that was putting him into pretty clear space at the near post. And Drew Yearwood, you could see, kind of looks at him and sees that, but still just hits a huge switch out to John Tolkien on the other side of the field. Which, tying in with what I was saying about, deploying Harper and Nealis out there as a little bit of an oddity in the lineup, and then tying in with what Aaron Long said after the game, that their main attacking game plan was getting the team sort of lined up and timed right so that they could send the wing backs, so that they could send either Cameron Harper or John Tolkien forward, and that was route one. That was plan A. Whenever you got the ball, was hit one of the wing backs who's trying to escape. And this isn't to rag. I mean, to bring Drew Yearwood up, and the choice that he made isn't to rag on Drew Yearwood at all. It was a good ball he played out to Tolkien. I mean, that's one of his big strengths, is hitting those big long balls. But I think when you see, I think that's such kind of a, maybe didactic, if you want to call it, situation where, or instructive situation where a good attacking run towards goal is being waved off in favor of adhering to a very precise, drilled, game plan. And just speaks to, what we've said at the top, earlier in this episode and throughout the season, that it just seems like there's so many priorities besides just, believing in your instincts and making a play when you see it, as opposed to sticking to a game plan, sticking to a tactic, so in such an orthodox way as it seems Struber wants from his team and is getting it from his team in a situation like that where a scoring opportunity is abandoned in favor of sticking to the plan.
Yeah, and I'll say that more, I guess, nefarious subtext out loud, but like the fear of not executing that plan, keeping you from making that play. I mean, it was like an anime moment where Klimala had like jumped out of the dust into the open and like it was a clear run too, but it just totally went to kind of a dead zone for that attack.
I'm just so tired of this wing back thing, and it's just not. It doesn't work that great. It doesn't.
Then you'll
it's
love
not fun
the
to
transfers.
watch. Jesus Christ, that is what we have next. God damn it. So, two that we mentioned last week briefly before they're confirmed. Well, first, Elias is here. How do you say Elias in Portuguese?
I don't know how you
Brazilian
pronounce his name, but I know...
Because I feel like it's unpredictable sometimes.
I know it's the Red Bull.
The Red Bull?
Or Hello Fence.
Hello Fence. Nice. Oh, did he post a video already?
He's posted some stuff. I don't know if it's been videos, but I've seen some screen caps of like him riding around in a car with his agent and all that kind of jazz.
Nice. So Elias is here from Gremio on loan with an option to buy, right?
Yeah, and actually just on Once a Metro this morning put out a pretty in-depth breakdown of, just kind of a dossier on Elias, however you pronounce it, by Ross Haley. Just going into his kind of background at Gremio, a little bit of kind of a sneaky, high-profile guy who's had a lot written about him in Brazil over the last couple of years. I mean, Gremio, for those of you who are, pretty knowledgeable, is a, somewhat, distinguished Brazilian club, produced a lot of top players like Ronaldinho most recently, and pretty well regarded youth scheme that he's come up out of, and he's kind of emerged in the Gremio first team at a time when the club has sort of been in the shitter, to be unkind about it. Got relegated during his first year when he was kind of getting some minutes, and then had a run in the team in their second division, campaign last year. But his main kind of breakout performances have been in the Copa Sudamericana that Gremio was still qualified for, and had some pretty flashy performances there that got his name on the map. And then, still a little bit stalled as Gremio is going through this kind of yo-yoing session and sort of shifting a lot of contracts off the books and trying to keep themselves, financially straight. And it seems that, getting him in the shop window or the loan window, even more so, with us has now been a part of that process. And we'll see how it goes. As, Ross and a lot of people have been pointing out, only 10 games left in the year, and he still doesn't have his visa and kind of, COVID protocols or anything taken care of yet. So it's still going to be a couple games before he's even available. So how much time he'll get to sort of show whether he's worth taking this buy option, it might be kind of dicey, but, we'll see. He seems like kind of a good, like I said, kind of sneaky, highly touted prospect. He was advertised as a striker in a lot of the club media around his signing, but his background, as Ross explains, is more of a winger who is being trained to maybe hone some of his potential to play more in the middle as more of a 9. But where he plays for us, if he gets to play much at all, remains to be seen.
I didn't even think about the fact there's only 10 games left. It would be just to get it out of the way. The more doomer or pessimistic thing is that I can't wait till he plays like 4 games, doesn't really, gets like 20 minutes in each, and then we hear at the end from the Strooper, we're like, oh, I think Alias would have been a really, really big thing for this team, but now he has to go back. So sorry, we're not scoring any goals next year either. And
yeah, I mean, we don't have the best record with recently keeping all of these loan guys that we get. I mean, obviously Fabio was allowed to walk, or decided to walk, and what have you. Edwards, it looks like it's kind of in the lurch now. It doesn't seem like we're necessarily taking the plunge on a lot of these guys who we're bringing in temporarily, so it's hard to see how Elias could show his stuff enough to earn a permanent contract. But then again, we're in a whole new era as far as Red Bull roster strategy.
Is this the longest since Luna? It's not that exciting. Is this the longest since we've had a little kickback loan from Salzburg or Leipzig in a while?
It looks like, I mean, I think it's set in stone now that the transfer window's closed, that this will be the first season in a while that there's been no synergy loan.
I forgot that. I mean, I don't know how I could forget about Yuba. I feel so terrible about it. But then the name occurred to me, or was popped up in something. Samuel Tete the other year, and I was like, oh wow,
yeah,
that's someone that maybe existed. I don't know if he really did. But funny little quirk that we haven't even gotten one of those weird.
Oh well, I mean, I think technically, maybe what people are saying is that it's been no Salzburg loans, because technically Caden Clark is a Leipzig loan.
Right.
Well, if the mothership cared about us, they would have given us Seska or whoever.
They would have signed Timo Werner.
Exactly.
Or Angelino.
Yeah. I would take Angelino.
Yeah.
I would give him the number 69 again, too.
A position of need, Speaking of which, we have a new left wing back, right? And Tyler Pasher.
I thought you were going to say Kyle Duncan.
Is it Pache? Well, that's true. He's Canadian, so maybe it's Pache.
Yeah, he might be Pache, yeah.
Or is it, I assume it's Tyler Pasher. I don't know. Released from Houston, I believe because they ran out of international spots. Also, apparently, we still have their international spot when we traded it a million years ago for. Who did we even send them back then?
I don't know, but apparently we're the only team with an extra one, right?
Yeah, because I think they said, "Whoa, you can't do that." You can't do that. But they let us keep it, I guess. Which is kind of fucked up, actually.
Yeah. But they gave Houston theirs back, so it's fine.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
But we just have an extra one forever now? Mm-hmm. Damn. fucking, was that Roxburgh?
Probably,
who pulled that off?
Man. Yeah. I mean, it was the Caleb Patterson-Sewell deal, I think.
Okay, so was that pre-Roxburgh even? Is that Soler?
Yeah, I think so.
Jeez.
I might be mixing, because I mean, Caleb Patterson-Sewell actually I think is the one where he was technically still had RBNY's rights 12 years after he had left the league.
Oh yeah.
Or RBNY owned his rights for that long, but he might have been the international trade too. But
jeez.
But yeah, Tyler Pache.
So that's how we. What do you know about this guy? It sounds like he's our left back depth.
Yeah, he's played all over the place, but is regarded as mainly just kind of a left-footed attacking guy. But he has played a little bit of left back, left wing back in his past, and it seems like that's where the team is bringing him in to sort of shore up things. Has played as more of a kind of final third winger for Houston the last couple of years, but kind of interesting little career that there's more of nowadays. This is kind of guy who might have been out of the game by now in past generations, but because of the strength of USL now has been able to kind of have a little bit of a career at that level and keep himself in good enough regards that he's gotten some national team caps and stuff like that, and eventually got his shot at MLS level at 26, 27. So I won't pretend that I've, watched him a ton or have any sort of, rate in on him yet. But on the surface of things, on paper, it seems to be a pretty canny little move to shore up the team after the transfer window, where your options to add bodies is a little bit more limited. So whether it actually turns out to be, like he scores the winning goal and in the fucking playoffs or whatever, I think that would be regarded as, a absolute bonus beyond his current charge, which is just to kind of shore up and be an extra depth body for this last stretch of the season in maybe one, maybe two positions.
I've looked it up, and he's from Ontario, so...
Oh, yeah, he's totally from one of the Michael and Us, towns with a plaque. There's a plaque past, a statue of Bill Clinton that they built when he spoke at the Student Union Hall.
Would you believe it? I actually looked it up,
2007.
and Roger Ebert actually wrote a review of this plaque of Tyler Pasher's hometown. He said
I happened to be visiting my parents an hour away, and
right. It was, negative 12 degrees. Oh, Canada.
but it's Elmira or Elmira,
Ontario. Which I feel like that's a common name in the American Midwest.
Named after the most beautiful town in upstate New York.
Okay, that's probably what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Left back's funny because I feel like a while ago we clocked that we don't really have a left back depth, and we were saying, Tolkien's kind of playing a lot and been kind of, fine. But it's fine because last week or 2 weeks ago during peak crisis, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, our roster's terrible. It sucks." And then if you push back on it, and they're like, "Well, no one's saying everyone sucks. We need a couple depth, pieces. Mm-hmm. We have no depth left back." And I'm like, "Okay,
is that really the issue?"
That's. Yeah. I mean, I was complaining about that pretty early on.
Right.
But is that why we're losing 5-1 to Orlando?
Right.
Lack of a backup depth left back, I don't know if it is. It'll be interesting. I don't think Tolkien's game is necessarily going to improve the way that I want it to by getting a little bit more rest. In fact, if anything, maybe I've been worried that he'll now be eligible for the Gerhard Struber 56-minute substitution treatment.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I mean, it's nice to just pick it up basically for free. Look, free agent signing, so why not? On the flip side, Kyle Duncan is back, which we talked about very briefly last time, and that's gonna not feel real until I see it in person, I don't think.
Even the training video seemed like it was kind of fake.
I can see it. I can see him literally playing every single minute or playing zero. Like, it could go either way. Like, either I'd be, after the fact, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But... And this apparently is no option to buy, right?
No.
Just a loan?
Yeah,
right.
Supposedly, I think it was Brian Sciaretta who kind of elaborated on the Cork pop that I put out there. Yes, I'm gonna. That's the one part of my brand that I will push. Elaborated that it is a no option loan and that his club in Belgium, Oostende, not to be confused with Odense, kind of rates him still and has him in their long-term plans, but just whatever offer we put out there was either too good to pass up, or they just felt it was better for him to kind of get this under his belt rather than shuffle around their bench, I guess, for the early part of this year. So yeah, we'll see. We know what we're getting with Kyle Duncan, for mostly better, but some worse, as we've discussed on this podcast. But I think, just in the context of the season and where we're at and where we need help, it's a move that makes a lot of sense and will probably make the team healthier. We'll see how it goes. Kyle Duncan's just fine, as I think all of us would say, but just not a very encouraging move for the more big picture reasons that I think a lot of listeners will understand.
Most importantly, Cork Pop t-shirts are now available on viewfrom202.com/shop.
They're $202. We retain none of the profits. We really got to hire a new merch team, new commercial team. It's not working out. he probably will be better suited to the straight out wingback position. I don't know if it's considered insider trading to sell your Cameron Harper stock now. I don't know. Probably not good news for his chance at a revival of that position that Duncan is rejoining the side. It is weird, especially with what you're saying about that moment where Yearwood swung the ball out to the fullbacks and how much we've been pushing the fullbacks as the point of attack. It is so weird that we have such a lackadaisical kind of approach seemingly to recruiting that part of the team. I don't know, like getting back Duncan on a loan, picking up this Pasher guy on a free agent, on a free, kind of lucking into Tolkien coming through the academy right now, and then we did get Morgan in the offseason, but we haven't ended up playing him at right wing back at all.
The Pasher signing, I think, lines up with a move that apparently we came close to that I always found interesting, which was Callum Styles. Maybe that name rings a bell for audience members. It doesn't sound like it's going off in this room, but
no.
He was a player that Struber had at Barnsley, an English kind of teenager who was sort of highly regarded, who his first nickname was the Bury Messi, that he was regarded as this sort of flair attacking midfielder when he was coming up, but Struber converted him into more of a left wing back, and I think Pasher coming into that role from the profile that he has is, obviously less ideal, but still a shadow of the idea behind Callum Styles that illustrates that at least, like you're saying, Brit, maybe there's been some issues in recruiting. I mean, good wing backs and good fullbacks are a kind of strange position to recruit for, and maybe a little more difficult than other areas of the field, but there is something of a framework for what kind of player they want in that role, which I guess is encouraging. But at the same time, like I said about Duncan, just all these moves, have the, let's be honest, stench of being sort of slapped together at the last moment when the club just needed bodies at any cost at the end of this window, and speaks to that, there's, it's going to be waiting until the winter again to see if there's a plan in place, kind of a more of a scope to how this squad's going to be built, because it seems like a lot of patchwork that's gone on ever since Thelwell left earlier this year. So
Jokin's had a lot of ketchups to be tasting, all right? So lay off of them. Yes, it's, the more I think about it, the more I think basing your entire tactical system off of the hardest position historically to find good talent at a mid-tier league like MLS is kind of a bad decision.
Yeah.
Kind of baffling, a little weird, maybe a little too in the weeds. Because, at the peak of Red Bull, things like we said, a recent episode, like in the 2018-ish time, one thing that was really going well for us is that Taxi and Amir were two pretty great MLS level fullbacks. Like most teams in MLS do actually have pretty mediocre fullbacks, and the Red Bulls for most of their history are included in that. It's kind of a hard position to, it's like in a weird Goldilocks zone, or maybe the opposite of Goldilocks zone in MLS, because if you've got like the pure talent or dribbling or technique to be a really good one at the MLS level, you might actually just get pushed further up the field, kind of like what has happened to Lewis Morgan this year. And then you also don't have enough budget flexibility to go and spend a ton of money on a wingback most of the time. So most of the league kind of has pretty mediocre wingbacks. We kind of maybe lucked into or scouted well to get two pretty good ones on cheap salaries to boot. But yeah, trying to focus our play through wingbacks then also just kind of, I don't know. It's not inspiring to me, especially the way that we've pursued it.
Yeah, and I mean, it all kind of gets wrapped up, I suppose, in something that I kind of said when we were chatting after the game the other night, where and kind of in theme with a lot of what I've said and some of us have said through this episode, where it's sort of like a monkey's paw curl from where we were in the Armas zone times, where there's too much of a plan now.
Yeah.
There's so much of a plan and a structure and a strategy and a tactic for everything, where it's kind of, we've now lost sight that plan actually needs to be good for it to, be adhered to so precisely and so rigidly. It's not enough to just have a plan. We thought it, we thought in late 2019, early 2020 that just having a plan in place would be a godsend. But that's just a start. We now need to be, now that the club is stabilized and kind of has a good young squad again. Now it's time to not just have a plan for a plan's sake. It's time to have a good plan. It's time to have plans that are involve winning games. The plan, it's not enough to just have a plan. It has to be good.
Yeah, or I'll even accept a mediocre plan or an imperfect plan if we have like a reasonable or mature approach that can adapt to it and can understand that it's a means to an end and not the end itself.
Right.
Because Lord knows Jesse had plans that he dreamt up, but always proved capable of adjusting to what he had across those 3 seasons, 3.5 seasons, to try to ultimately wring a result out of the resources and the players that he had and try to meet their temperament and skills. It seems like the exact opposite is what's happening with Struber.
I would argue that, we just also don't have the goal of winning. Like, I think the goal setting of what seems to be load management or some other kind of calculus in the way it seems to have made us lose the forest for the trees.
Yeah, I think at some point maybe he's always been like this, but it doesn't hurt Struber to like lose the way it hurts other guys to lose. I think he's maybe like, well, too bad you guys fucked up. That wasn't on me. So we've got Orlando this weekend at home. Grudge match, I guess. 6:00. What is there? So you meet someone on the street who's on the way to the Red Bulls game. What do you say to them what to watch for nowadays? Because we're kind of in a weird in between zone. Cup runs over. We have this goal of getting a home playoff spot. Probably not going to fall out of the playoffs. But Shield has gone too, and the form has been weird. So what to watch for this weekend? What I guess are the stakes? What do you have an eye for this home game? Do you think Andres Reyes starts? Do you think any of the new signings might dress or even play? Do we do another platoon thing with our forwards up top? 55 minutes, 35 minutes?
Apparently Tyler Pasher is ready to go.
Classic.
Tyler Pache has already been in training and stuff like that, which people were weirdly, I mean, it was, nice little scoop by Gustavo, but people were weirdly kind of freaking out about it. And I'm just like, I don't know, it's jingling keys, I guess, where it's just like people 3 days ago were like, this team sucks. Nobody wants to buy. This ownership doesn't want to buy anybody. And then Tyler Pasher being in training is enough for people to be clapping like seals. But anyway, he's supposedly going to be fit and ready. I mean, he was just playing with Houston a few weeks ago. I mean, he's going to be in kind of mid-season shape, hopefully. And Duncan is back in training and has been obviously training, but has been, obviously in the European summer break for a while. So who knows how long his stay in the in the tank or whatever is before he's actually trusted with minutes, even though he's Mr. already knows the system.
I was gonna say it's gonna be. I feel like Duncan's gonna start before we see Reyes start again.
God.
We're see Duncan as a left center back.
I can't imagine Duncan's going to take Struber's just like constant yelling and kind of nagging as like that one,
Again,
that fullback
yeah.
on the side. Like it's always Nealis who just gets
Right.
like so much shit like yelled at him by Struber during the game.
Right.
And I could just see Duncan's first game just being like, fuck
But
this.
then like we commented and like
Last
we said
week,
briefly
yeah.
on the show, where it's just like somehow Duncan, despite all of his, pretty visible kind of breakdowns sometimes, has never been put in the doghouse, and Struber seems to like him.
And he fucking agreed to come back here.
Right.
I'm like,
and
what?
Struber, my main Kyle Duncan sideline memory from last year is Struber handing him a can of Red Bull to chug during a throw-in. I mean, they seem to be thick as thieves, diagnose that however you wish, but yeah.
It's like the last Star Wars movie. Somehow Kyle Duncan returned.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the extent of your like.
That's the analogy.
Okay.
I mean, there was nothing more to the Kyle Duncan returning, either. It just happened. It feels like materialized from no kind of like context or anything, and it just he's back.
All right, I'm sure he's gonna score a goal, make us all look stupid.
Yeah, but
I mean, we won't be stupid still, but I'm still just not feeling inspired. Well, are we gonna win this game? Doesn't matter. I don't. I mean, I'd always like us to win. I prefer it. Personally, I cheer for the team to win. I get quite sad when the team doesn't win, which may be unique. I don't think it is, but who knows? Yeah, I think we're gonna draw though. I don't know. I just feel really. We're back in the. I mean, we had an episode like 2 or 3 months ago, I think, where it was just like, I don't know, maybe we'll play well. Will it matter? I don't know. Now I'm like, will we play well? I don't know, but maybe it still won't matter. Like, we could still win, no problem. Like, we've just seen. There's just been such a wide range of results and like quality of play for this season. We've seen the team play really well, and we've seen it deliver. We've seen them play really badly and also squeak out a result.
Just against this Orlando team we're about to play.
And like vice versa. Every combination of what I just said is true. So, and it's been hard to get a sense of what might happen. I mean, I guess hopefully we did actually stop the bleeding last week, and we can at least get a clean sheet. So maybe that will be my main aspiration, is that regardless, I would like us to get a clean sheet. Fine, Gerhard, pack it all in. You can all, you don't want to score a goal again, that's fine. But if you can at least prove that we can do a clean sheet again, I'll take it. What about you guys? Any hopes, dreams, aspirations, doubts, concerns about Saturday?
I don't know. I feel like going into the DC game, despite the fact that, I'd gone all the way to travel to DC to watch that game, I felt a feeling of indifference while I was watching the game, as you can tell from my analysis of the game that I had been in person to see. So I don't know. Maybe hopefully it'll be an entertaining game. I might bring a guest. So that's
A guest?
Yeah.
Who are you going to bring?
just a friend.
Oh,
Someone I know.
all right.
Yeah.
Ooh. 90s sitcom audience.
Yeah,
Ooh.
That's my dog. I'm bringing Luna.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Orlando after having, all sorts of different character traits during their early seasons, has now devolved into one of the more generic teams in the league for me, where I just I think nothing about them. I mean, I guess they play pretty compact little CONMEBOL ball under Pereira with all these, foreign guys. They obviously got our asses, so to speak. a few weeks ago, but you would think there would not be a repeat of that. But both because we've shored things up and stabilized, and because they're not going to be champing at the bit like they were in a cup semifinal. So, like Brit said, it seems to have draw written all over it. But we'll see. It's kind of just sort of freestyling for this last couple months, so we'll see what path that leads to.
We're also at the threshold now, especially after a full week off in between matches, where if Frankie doesn't start this game, it'll be notable.
Yeah, exactly. That might be something where just watching the lineup, and this will be a full week's rest, first choice 11. So we get our I guess bi-monthly pulse check on what that actually is from Struber.
We'll also say that Kosteris has been playing fine, but not spectacularly, so I don't think he's forced himself into the starting lineup, so it might be interesting to see if he's included or not. But anything else, Sam? Do you have any hopes, aspirations, fears?
No. It's funny that I feel like I've lost the desire to bring people that are not Red Bulls fans to Red Bulls games anymore. I don't know. I brought Emily to a game, and it was just I was thinking part of this is fun, whatever, but I definitely don't feel as compelled as I used to. Where I feel like I would bring random friends, especially people from out of town, just convince them to come to games. And
it was more of a case of hey, you want to meet up on that day? You have anything planned? It's oh yeah, I'm going to the game. It's oh, maybe we'll go later. I don't know, but it was definitely not my first suggestion of hey, of things to do. Let's go watch Red Bull New York versus Orlando City.
For so long, you were almost guaranteed to see us beat someone down at RBA.
Yeah.
It was just good vibe, and now it's ever since 19 onwards, you're just well, I mean,
you never know.
The concessions aren't even that good.
You have this weird halftime thing that goes on.
Stadium experience is kind of corny now.
It's like a Yankees game.
I go every
Colorado
week.
doesn't usually beat us at home, although now that I think about it, it's happened twice in a row now. It's really different last time, though. I don't know. So
maybe earlier kickoff time, we can go karting after it or something.
Well, that's true.
I won't. I get off work at 6:30, so I won't be able to make the game. But I
would come go karting.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, why not? The true game,
Yeah.
But I gotta improve my lap time.
The F1 has been on summer break too.
I know. Yeah. So we'll see. Well, should we leave it there? Hopefully, we have a more inspired outlook on the team next week. But thank God, only one game to review. We're back to a more normal schedule for now. Till then.
It's Alex!